Book 6, Argument. The meeting between Nausicaa and Ulysses. Pallas, appearing in a dream to Nausicaa, the daughter of Alcinous, king of Phaeacia, commands her to descend to the river and wash the robes of state in preparation for her nuptials. Nausicaa goes with her handmaidens to the river, where, while the garments are spread on the bank, they divert themselves in sports. Their voices awaken Ulysses, who, addressing himself to the princess, is by her relieved and clothed, and receives directions in what manner to apply to the king and queen of the island. While thus the weary wanderer sunk to rest, and peaceful slumbers calmed his anxious breast, the martial maid from heaven's aerial height, swift to Phaeacia winged her rapid flight. In elder times the soft Phaeacian train in ease possessed the wide Hyperion plain, till the Cyclopean race in arms arose, a lawless nation of gigantic foes. Then great Nausithous from Hyperia far, through seas retreating from the sounds of war, the recreant nation to fair Scheria led, where never science reared her laureled head. There round his tribes a strength of wall he raised, to heaven the glittering domes and temples blazed. Just to his realms he parted grounds from grounds, and shared the lands, and gave the lands their bounds. Now in the silent grave the monarch lay, and wise Alcinous held the legal sway. To his high palace, through the fields of air, the goddess shot. Ulysses was her care. There, as the night in silence rolled away, a heaven of charms divine Nausicaa lay. Through the thick gloom the shining portals blaze, 2 nymphs the portals guard, each nymph a grace. Light as the viewless air the warrior maid glides through the valves and hovers round her head. A favorite virgin's blooming form she took, from Dymas sprung, and thus the vision spoke. O indolent, to waste thy hours away, and sleepest thou careless of the bridal day? Thy spousal ornament neglected lies. Arise, prepare the bridal train, arise. A just applause the cares of dress impart, and give soft transport to a parent's heart. Haste, to the limpid stream direct thy way, when the gay morn unveils her smiling ray. Haste to the stream, companion of thy care. Lo, I thy steps attend, thy labors share. Virgin, awake, the marriage hour is nigh. See from their thrones thy kindred monarchs sigh. The royal car at early dawn obtain, and order mules obedient to the rein. For rough the way and distant rolls the wave, where their fair vests Phaeacian virgins lave. In pomp ride forth, for pomp becomes the great, and majesty derives a grace from state. Then to the palaces of heaven she sails, incumbent on the wings of wafting gales. The seat of gods, the regions mild of peace, full joy and calm eternity of ease. There no rude winds presume to shake the skies, no rains descend, no snowy vapors rise. But on immortal thrones the blessed repose, the firmament with living splendors grows. Hither the goddess winged the aerial way, through heaven's eternal gates that blazed with day. Now from her rosy car Aurora shed the dawn, and all the orient flamed with red. Up rose the Virgin with the morning light, obedient to the vision of the night. The queen she sought, the queen her hours bestowed. In curious works the whirling spindle glowed, with crimson threads, while busy damsels call the snowy fleece, or twist the purpled wool. Meanwhile, Phaeacia's peers in council sate, From his high dome the king descends in state. Then with a filial awe the royal maid approached him passing, and submissive said, "Will my dread sire his ear regardful deign, and may his child the royal car obtain? Say, with my garments shall I bend my way, where through the vales the mazy waters stray? A dignity of dress adorns the great, and kings draw luster from the robe of state. 5 sons thou hast, 3 wait the bridal day, and spotless robes become the young and gay. So when with praise amid the dance they shine, by these my cares adorned, that praise is mine." Thus she, but blushes ill-restrained betray her thoughts intentive on the bridal day. The conscious sire the dawning blush surveyed, and smiling, thus bespoke the blooming maid. "My child, my darling joy, the car receive. That, and whate'er our daughter asks, we give." Swift at the royal nod, the attending train the car prepare, the mules' incessant rein. The blooming virgin with dispatchful cares tunics and stoles enrobed imperial bears. The queen, assiduous to her train, assigns the sumptuous viands and the flavorous wines. The train prepare a cruise of curious mold, a cruise of fragrance formed of burnished gold. Odor divine whose soft refreshing streams sleek the smooth skin and scent the snowy limbs. Now mounting the gay seat the silken reins shine in her hand along the sounding plains. Swift fly the mules, nor rode the nymph alone. Around a bevy of bright damsels shone. They seek the cisterns where Phaeacian dames wash their fair garments in the limpid streams, where gathering into depth from falling rills the lucid wave a spacious basin fills. The mules, unharnessed, range beside the main, or crop the verdant herbage of the plain. Then emulous the royal robes they lave, and plunge the vestures in the cleansing wave. The vestures cleansed, o'er spread the shelly sand, their snowy luster whitens all the strand. Then with a short repast relieve their toil, and o'er their limbs diffuse ambrosial oil. And while the robes imbibe the solar ray, o'er the green mead the sporting virgins play. Their shining veils unbound, along the skies, tossed and retossed, the ball incessant flies. They sport, they feast. Nausicaa lifts her voice, and warbling sweet makes earth and heaven rejoice. As when o'er Erymanth Diana roves, or wide Taygetus' resounding groves, a sylvan train the huntress queen surrounds, her rattling quiver from her shoulders sounds. Fierce in the sport, along the mountain's brow, they bay the boar, or chase the bounding roe. High o'er the lawn, with more majestic pace, above the nymphs she treads with stately grace. Distinguished excellence the goddess proves, exults Latona as the virgin moves. With equal grace, Nausicaa trod the plain, and shone transcendent o'er the beauteous train. Meantime, the care and favorite of the skies, wrapped in embowering shade, Ulysses lies, his woes forgot, but Pallas now addressed, to break the bands of all composing rest. Forth from her snowy hand Nausicaa threw the various ball, the ball erroneous flew, and swam the stream, loud shrieks the virgin train, and loud shriek redoubles from the main. Waked by the shrilling sound Ulysses rose, and, to the deaf woods wailing, breathed his woes. Ah me, on what inhospitable coast, on what new region is Ulysses tossed? possessed by wild barbarians fierce in arms, or men whose bosom tender pity warms. What sounds are these that gather from he shores? The voice of nymphs that haunt the sylvan bowers, the fair-haired dryads of the shady wood, or azure daughters of the silver flood, or human voice, but issuing from the shades. Why cease I straight to learn what sound invades? Then where the grove with leaves umbrageous bends, with forceful strength a branch the hero rends. Around his loins the verdant cincture spreads, a wreathy foliage and concealing shades. As when a lion in the midnight hours, beat by rude blasts and wet with wintry showers, descends terrific from the mountain's brow, with living flames his rolling eyeballs glow. With conscious strength elate he bends his way, majestically fierce to seize his prey. The steer or stag, or with keen hunger bold, spring o'er the fence and dissipates the fold. No less a terror from the neighboring groves, rough from the tossing surge Ulysses moves, urged on by want and recent from the storms, the brackish ooze his manly grace deforms. Wide o'er the shore with many a piercing cry, to rocks, to caves, the frightened virgins fly. All but the nymph stood fixed alone, by Pallas armed with boldness not her own. Meantime, in dubious thought the king awaits, and self-considering as he stands, debates. Distant his mournful story to declare, or prostrate at her knee address the prayer. But fearful to offend, by wisdom swayed, at awful distance he accosts the maid. If from the skies a goddess, or if earth, imperial virgin, boast thy glorious birth, to thee I bend, if in that bright disguise thou visit earth, a daughter of the skies. Hail, Dian, hail, the huntress of the groves, so shines majestic and so stately moves, so breathes an air divine. But if thy race be mortal, and this earth thy native place, blessed is the father from whose loins you sprung, blessed is the mother at whose breast you hung. Blessed are the brethren who thy blood divide, to such a miracle of charms allied. Joyful they see applauding princes gaze, when stately in the dance you swim the harmonious maze. But blessed o'er all the youth with heavenly charms, who clasps the bright perfection in his arms. I never viewed till this blessed hour such finished grace. I gaze and I adore. Thus seems the palm with stately honors crowned, by Phoebus' altars, thus o'erlooks the ground. The pride of Delos, by the Delian coast, I voyaged, leader of a warrior host. But ah, how changed from thence my sorrow flows, O fatal voyage, source of all my woes. Raptured I stood, and as this hour amazed, with reverence at the lofty wonder gazed. Raptured I stand, for earth ne'er knew to bear a plant so stately, or a nymph so fair. Awed from access, I lift my suppliant hands, for misery, O queen, before thee stands. Twice 10 tempestuous nights I rolled, resigned, to roaring billows and the warring wind. Heaven bade the deep to spare, but heaven, my foe, spares only to inflict some mightier woe. Inured to cares, to death in all its forms, outcast I rove, familiar with the storms. Once more I view the face of humankind. O let soft pity touch thy generous mind. Unconscious of what air I breathe, I stand, naked, defenseless, on a narrow land. propitious to my wants a vest supply, to guard the wretched from the inclement sky. So may the gods, who heaven and earth control, crown the chaste wishes of thy virtuous soul. On thy soft hours their choicest blessings shed. Blessed with a husband be thy bridal bed. Blessed be thy husband with a blooming race, and lasting union crown your blissful days. The gods, when they supremely bless, bestow firm union on their favorites below. Then envy grieves with inly pining hate. The good exult, and heaven is in our state. To whom the nymph: O stranger, cease thy care. Wise is thy soul, but man is born to bear. Jove weighs affairs of earth in dubious scales, and the good suffers while the bad prevails. Bear with a soul resigned the will of Jove, who breathes must mourn, thy woes are from above. But since thou treadst our hospitable shore, 'tis mine to bid the wretched grieve no more, to clothe the naked and thy way to guide. Know the Phaeacian tribes this land divide. From great Alcinous' royal loins I spring, a happy nation and a happy king. Then to her maids: Why, ye coward train? These fears, this flight, ye fear and fly in vain. Dread ye a foe? Dismiss that idle dread. 'Tis death with hostile step these shores to tread. Safe in the love of heaven an ocean flows, around our realm a barrier from the foes. 'Tis ours this sun of sorrow to relieve. Cheer the sad heart, nor let affliction grieve. By Jove the stranger and the poor are sent, and what to those we give to Jove is lent. Then food supply, and bathe his fainting limbs, where waving shades obscure the mazy streams. Obedient to the call, the chief they guide to the calm current of the secret tide. Close by the stream a royal dress they lay, a vest and robe with rich embroidery gay. Then unguents in vase of gold supply, that breathed a fragrance through the balmy sky. To them the king: No longer I detain your friendly care. Retire, ye virgin train, retire, while from my wearied limbs I lave the foul pollution of the briny wave. Ye gods, since this worn frame refection knew, what scenes have I surveyed of dreadful view? But nymphs, recede. Sage chastity denies to raise the blush or pain the modest eyes. The nymphs, withdrawn, at once into the tide, active he bounds, the flashing waves divide. O'er all his limbs his hands the waves diffuse, and from his locks compress the weedy ooze. The balmy oil a fragrant shower he sheds. Then, dressed in pomp, magnificently treads. The warrior goddess gives his frame to shine with majesty enlarged and air divine. Back from his brows a length of hair unfurls. His hyacinthine locks descend in wavy curls. As by some artist to whom Vulcan gives his skill divine, a breathing statue lives. By Pallas taught, he frames the wondrous mold, and o'er the silver pours the fusile gold. So Pallas his heroic frame improves with heavenly bloom, and like a god he moves. A fragrance breathes around, majestic grace attends his steps, the astonished virgins gaze. Soft he reclines along the murmuring seas, inhaling freshness from the fanning breeze. The wondering nymph his glorious port surveyed, and to her damsels with amazement said, Not without care divine the stranger treads this land of joy, his steps some godhead leads. Would Jove destroy him? Sure he had been driven far from this realm, the favorite isle of heaven. Late a sad spectacle of woe he trod, the desert sands, and now he looks a god. O heaven, in my connubial hour decree this man my spouse, or such a spouse as he. But haste, the viands and the bowl provide. The maids the viands and the bowl supplied. Eager he fed, for keen his hunger raged, and with the generous vintage thirst assuaged. Now on return her care Nausicaa bends, the robes resumes, the glittering car ascends. Far blooming o'er the field, and as she pressed the splendid seat, the listening chief addressed. Stranger, arise, the sun rolls down the day. Lo, to the palace I direct thy way, where in high state the nobles of the land attend my royal sire, a radiant band. But here, though wisdom in thy soul presides, speaks from thy tongue, and every action guides. Advance at distance, while I pass the plain, where o'er the furrows waves the golden grain. Alone I reascend with airy mounds, a strength of wall the guarded city bounds. The jutting land two ample bays divides, full through the narrow mouths descend the tides. The spacious basins arching rocks enclose, a sure defense from every storm that blows. Close to the bay great Neptune's fane adjoins, and near a forum flanked with marble shines, where the bold youth the numerous fleets to store shape the broad sail or smooth the taper oar. For not the bow they bend, nor boast the skill to give the feathered arrow wings to kill, but the tall mast above the vessel rear, or teach the fluttering sail to float in air. They rush into the deep with eager joy, climb the steep surge, and through the tempest fly. A proud, unpolished race to me belongs, the care to shun the blast of slanderous tongues. Lest malice prone the virtuous to defame, thus with wild censure taint my spotless name. What stranger this whom thus Nausicaa leads? Heavens, with what graceful majesty he treads! Perhaps a native of some distant shore, the future consort of her bridal hour, or rather some descendant of the skies, won by her prayer the aerial bridegroom flies. Heaven on that hour is choicest influence shed. All the godlike worthies that adorn. Heaven on that hour its choicest influence shed, that gave a foreign spouse to crown her bed. All the godlike worthies that adorn this realm she flies, Phaeacia is her scorn. And just the blame for female innocence not only flies the guilt, but shuns the offense. The unguarded virgin as unchaste I blame, and the least freedom with the sex is shame. Till our consenting sires a spouse provide, and public nuptials justify the bride. But wouldst thou soon review thy native plain, attend, and speedy thou shalt pass the main, nigh where a grove with verdant poplars crowned, to Pallas sacred shades the holy ground. We bend our way, a bubbling fount distills, a lucid lake, and thence descends in rills. Around the grove a mead with lively green falls by degrees and forms a beauteous scene. Here a rich juice the royal vineyard pours, and there the garden yields a waste of flowers. Hence lies the town, as far as to the ear floats a strong shout along the waves of air. There wait embowered, while I ascend alone to great Alcinous on his royal throne. Arrived, advance, impatient of delay, and to the lofty palace bend thy way. The lofty palace overlooks the town, from every dome by pomp superior known. A child may point the way, with earnest gait. Seek thou the queen along the rooms of state. Her royal hand a wondrous work designs, around a circle of bright damsels shines. Part twist the threads, and part the wool dispose, while with the purple orb the spindle glows. High on a throne, amid the Scarian powers, my royal father shares the genial hours. But to the queen thy mournful tale disclose, with the prevailing eloquence of woes. So shalt thou view with joy thy natal shore, though mountains rise between and oceans roar. She added not, but waving as she wheeled the silver scourge, it glittered o'er the field. With skill the virgin guides the embroidered rein. Slow rolls the car before the attending train. Now, whirling down the heavens, the golden day shot through the western clouds a dewy ray. The grove they reach, where from the sacred shade to Pallas thus the pensive hero prayed. Daughter of Jove, whose arms in thunder wield the avenging bolt and shake the dreadful shield. Forsook by thee, in vain I sought thy aid, when booming billows closed above my bead. Attend, unconquered maid, accord my vows, bid the great hear, and pitying heal my woes. This heard Minerva, but forbore to fly, by Neptune awed, apparent from the sky, stern god, who raged with vengeance unrestrained, till great Ulysses hailed his native land.